Namaste and greetings. I, Riya Rawat, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav एवं नीति अनुसंधान संस्थान नई दिल्ली, extend my warmest welcome to you all at IMPRI Web Policy Learning. Today marks the 5th day of the Young Women Leaders in Public Policy Fellowship, Cohort 2.0, with the theme Getting Foothold in Politics, Governance and Gainful Employment, a Gender Lens. This is an online national winter school program, a 4-month online immersive introductory leadership certificate training fellowship program spanning from January to April 2025. This program is organized by IMPRI Gender Impact Studies Center. The chair for this program is Professor Vibhuti Patel ji, visiting distinguished professor at IMPRI and a renowned advocate for gender equality and women's empowerment, while the co-chair is Professor M. Indira ji and former professor of economics at the Department of Studies in Economics and Corporation, University of Mysore. Today, we will explore the critical theme of women leaders in public sector enterprises. The discussion will examine the evolving role of women in leadership positions within public sector organizations, their contributions to the governance and decision making, and the challenges they navigate in these roles. We are privileged to have an esteemed expert with us today, Professor Sasmita Palo, Professor Center for Human Resources Management and Labor Relations, School of Management and Labor Studies, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, and Professor Vibhuti Patelji and Professor M. Indra guiding today's session. The panel of conveners for this program comprises Dr. Simi Mehta ji, Dr. Arjun Kumar ji, Professor Gumadi Sridevi ji, and Advocate Dr. Shalu Nigam ji. Before we begin, here are a few housekeeping announcements. Please join the meeting on time. There will be a Q&A session after each presentation. Share your questions on the Q&A box. The questions must not be posted as an anonymous attendee. Ensure that your questions are precise and refrain from making general comments in the questions to save time. Now, without further ado, let us start our program. I would now like to invite our chair, Professor Vibhuti Patel ji, to deliver the opening remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Riya Rawat, for introducing the course today and also today's day 5 of the Young Women Leaders in Public Policy Fellowship Cohort 2. First of all, I would like to welcome today's expert, Professor Sasmita Palo, and my co-chair, Professor M. Indira, and the esteemed participants and fellows. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Arjun Kumar and Simi Mehta, convener of this course, and coordinators who have put in a lot of hard work. Ms. Priyanka Negi, Dr. Vaishali Singh, Mr. Satyam Tripathi, Reet Lath, Ritvika Malik, Shweta Ashtaba, and Bhakti Jadeja. And brief recap of what all has transpired. So far, day 1 began with a keynote address by our esteemed expert, Dr. Comrade Annie Raja, who spoke about women's all 3 interconnected themes on declining work participation rate and the question of governance failure so far as the gender concerns are to be addressed, and also the hurdles that women are facing while entering the electoral politics. And she also gave us the vivid history of how many times the Women's Reservation Bill was introduced and how many hurdles it found. And finally, in September 2023, we managed to have Women's Reservation Act. But still, we have a long way to go because of the caveat, that only after the next census, when the constituencies are reconstituted, then only the women's reservation will be implemented. And she also told us the whole history of how women have done good work even in the Panchayati Raj institutions over last 30 years. But still, it doesn't get recognized. And whenever women take bold stand, then the weapon of Sarpanch Pati is used against them, or no confidence motion becomes the weapon. But still, she said that there is a reason to be optimist, because when we collectively strive to achieve our goal, we become empowered. And she said that becoming empowered is something every person deserves, regardless of their caste, class, race, ethnicity, ability, and gender. And on day 2, we had Professor Vidyut Mohanty, who has dedicated nearly 40 years of her life as a political scientist to strengthen the women in Panchayati Raj institutions. And she also gave a very balanced view of how the performance analysis of women in the local self-government bodies, both in urban and rural areas. And she spoke on the bursting the bubble of traditional leadership and how the women's leadership in grassroots politics is facing various types of challenges. She deconstructed the term panchayat and panchparmeshwar, and she said that we have a long legacy of, but that decentralized political governance has to be backed by adequate budget and also the misogyny, muscle power, money power, and mafia power, which is used against women in public life, that becomes a deterring force. And it's the only answer is the women's collective response. And she said that the gender deficit in democracy is a result of number of barriers and restraints that prevent women from joining electoral politics. But still, we have seen that there have been so many good emulating examples that she gave, so from different parts of India, and she has done extensive traveling and interacted closely with the women elected representatives while organizing their workshops or documenting their contributions. No. On day 3, we had Professor Chaitra Redkar, who focused on the regional dynamics with a specific case study of Maharashtra and and what kind of women's political leadership has emerged. And she said that her lecture was based on a profound insights and knowledge at a ground level. And she also gave the whole history of formation of the state in 1960 after the Sanyukta Maharashtra movement that was supported. The whole movement it was a social movement, and she also gave the geographical division and the regional imbalances within the state, 6 geographical divisions which the state has. And she also gave the performance analysis of women in Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, and Legislative Assembly in Maharashtra. And she said, even being the most progressive state, which has a long history of social reform movement, women find it very difficult to be in the electoral politics. So because we have reservation, 50% reservation for women in the Panchayati Raj institutions, urban and local self-government bodies, and Maharashtra also is the first state which had over a dozen all women panchayat, no, where even on the open seat women were elected because they were honest, they were judicious, they were not resorting to any corrupt practices, and they were backed by the men and women of villages, no. So even with that trajectory, when women said that they had done so much work, it was the politicians, mainstream politicians, they said, when these women who have had experience of 6 rounds of elections in bodies, they wanted ticket for the legislative assembly. That, but what you have done, whatever you have done is work. It is not no. So government for expenditure, that was not treated as something political. No, so what do we call as political? That was also the question that emerged, and it was followed by a very interesting debate because the participants are also very proactive. The fellows here are also very proactive. On day 4, I began with my presentation on gender gap in workforce participation and some of the mind-boggling issues of why declining work participation rate, and currently why women are turning to agriculture. And because in the absence of any other work, like either in service sector or in manufacturing sector, because there are not more openings, women are now working in the family farm. Though data calls it a own account worker or self-employed, actually they are the unpaid family workers. What we used to call, the nomenclature has changed, but the scenario has not. Scenario remains the same. So I think the question of affirmative action and very, very proactive effort, both by the public and private sectors, are required to increase participation of women. After that, there was a very engaging lecture by Professor Tara Nair on women's leadership in entrepreneurship, and it was very thought provoking. And she began with a quotation from Peter Kilby's article, "Hunting the Heffalump," no, hunting the Heffalump, and she said that how different economists and social scientists and women's rights activists have gauged and have focused on only one or other aspect of women entrepreneurship, while the women entrepreneurship is a very, very comprehensive and very complex topic. And she quoted Vijendra Tripathi's study, which talked about the combination of external environment and personal attributes that determine employee entrepreneurial quality. So the kind of mainstream discourse which said that entrepreneurs are born, that she said that's not true. It is the social environment, community support, family support, all these things determine whether you will be a successful entrepreneur or not. And she said that how the gender affects entrepreneurship, and she talked about so many disabling gender biases, no, that we have, which come in the way of women entrepreneurs. We also had a very interesting discussion on some of the successful models of Mandeshi Mahila Sarkari Mandi, or self-employed women's organization, or Annapurna Mahila Mandal, where women have become now entrepreneurs and they have been backed by the organization. We had a very interesting discussion on cooperative banks also, that wherever women's organization, if the entrepreneurs are supported by the women's bank, who are very supportive to their activity, then they become successful, while the mainstream banking sections, banking sector and the financial institutions also have a grudge and the prejudicial view against women entrepreneurs, and they don't get seed money. They don't, even the startups where women are highly qualified, their proposals are not backed by the angel investors, no. She also talked about some of the FPOs in the agricultural sector, how the entrepreneurship on aquaculture or pisciculture or farmers productive organizations, wherever they are organized as cooperatives, they have been able to negotiate the harshness of market successfully. And she also mentioned Anita Paul's FPOs, which are doing great as they respond to the lived reality of experiences of women. A fear of social dishonor, personal restrictions, barriers from the families, flags to get when they bring disrepute, quote unquote disrepute, are deeply learned social fears, which prevent so many capable women to enter into the realm of entrepreneurship. And today, now we are going to have a very interesting session from Professor Sasmita Palo. Over to Riyaj.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And we are now honored to welcome Professor Sasmita Palo, who will deliver the session on women leaders in public sector enterprises. She will provide valuable insights into the role of women in public sector enterprises, the challenges they encounter, and the opportunities for enhancing gender diversity in leadership positions. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks a lot, Professor Indira and Professor Patel, for this opportunity. The topic which has been given to me is more in the context of the PSUs, but I just take the liberty to share some of my research, which findings which I would like to share. Many of the challenges which I'm going to discuss now, of course, I assume that those challenges are equally applicable to the women who are working in the public sector enterprises, particularly in India. So primarily, I'm going to discuss how do you navigate, how do the women navigate the leadership tightrope, the tightrope in the corporate context, and what kind of strategies they can really use uh, to successfully navigate those kind of challenges. And the strategies which I'm going to discuss are all evidence-based. Okay, so that is how. So now I would like to start with a few data which I'm going to show. Uh, and this data has come from a research which has been published, of course, long ago in 2012. There were two researchers, Jack Ginger and Folkman. They are the one who have conducted this study based on their 30 years of research to understand what are the competencies which are needed to become an effective leader. So they have identified a list of 16 competencies, and this particular research they conducted where they asked the peers, it was a kind of 360-degree evaluation that happened, and they asked the participants to look at all those 16 competencies and their opinion or their perception of where do both the leaders from both the genders, both men and women, they stand. And the result is very interesting, as you can see from this particular slide. Now you can see that at every level, at every competencies, uh, the women are being rated much higher, okay, and better as compared to the men, excepting for one competency, that is developing strategic perspective, okay, which is there towards the end of this particular list. So the it says that women have all the requisite competencies which are required to become very effective, very successful leaders. Now, there is also another research there is a very interesting work which is being published by one, the former head of Bank of America, the Global Wealth and Investment Management Division. And right now she is the co-founder of a company called Elvest. He has published a book in the year 2016, very interesting book. I would suggest all of you to go through it. Sally Crossiel. So she has identified there are six particular unique strengths which the women they bring to the table. They naturally bring to the workplace. So women tend to be more cautious with decision making as compared to the men. That is why you will see that, as you can see from here, the take the example, the female-led startups. If you look at the kind of investment they get from the different funders as compared to the men, it is almost half. Okay, if the men, founders or the co-founder, they receive 2.12 million. The women investors or the founders, the co-founders, they receive even less than 1 million, just less than half, 50% of what the men receive. However, if you look at the revenue they generate, as you can see, the revenue generated by the women, the founders, co-founders, is much higher as compared to the revenue generated by the main founders and the co-founders. So this is a very interesting example of how the female-led startups, they have better investment returns because they take calculated risk rather than gambling on certain kind of opportunities. Okay. Similarly, you can see that holistic thinking, when women, they try to look at certain kind of issues, they have to take certain kind of decisions, they really consider multiple perspectives. Okay? They are very, very calculative and they're very, very logical when they approach a problem. So we have the instance with us, the Germany's former Chancellor Angela Merkel. We have seen the ways he has led the entire issues, how in a very balanced and very analytical approach. Okay? So the women that they try to think a lot, what is going to happen, what is the long-term impact before enacting on any kind of issues. Third thing, which she talks about, that is the relationship focus. Women excel at team building and collaboration, which is very, very essential for the leadership. So there is a very interesting piece of work which is published by Sheryl Sandberg, who was the CEO of Meta, Facebook. Also, there are a lot of references of how Sheryl Sandberg has used very fostering inclusive and team-driven workplaces. There are so many examples with us how they try to focus on the relationship. Of course, the women prioritize the sustainable goal over the short-term gains. Like, for instance, they take the case of the CEO of Patagonia, the Rose Marcario, who always focused on ethical business practices, sustainability, and that has really resulted in a lot of long-term brand loyalty among the customers. And also, women are more likely to seek mentorship. They try to upskill their themselves, and also they try to evolve in their careers. Lifelong learning is something is very intrinsic part of their always seek for, and also meaning and purpose is something which is very, very essential. They're very purpose-driven leaders who want to make an impact, who wants to make a difference. Okay. Now, we have seen that women are being scored better in their competency assessment. Also, we've learned about the kind of unique strengths they bring to the table when they come to the workplace. But if you look at the statistics, which is very recent statistics, 2024 statistics, which is published by McKinsey in its anniversary report, if you can see here, it very clearly the report says that there is a persistent underrepresentation of women at the senior leadership level. And you can also see that there is a clear drop-off in the female representation as the employees move up the corporate ladder. Now, at the entry level, as you can see, uh, men are all and women are almost equally represented in the workforce. However, the disparity it begins at the first promotion to management when they are to promote to the managerial level. And the presence of women starts diminishing significantly when they move from manager to the C-suite roles. So now particularly if you look at if you see this particular diagram also, it also gives certain kind of data about how the Asian women particularly face both gender and the racial biases in their career advancement. So if you look at particularly the Indian context, for instance, it also, if you look at the certain kind of key managerial personnel, the disparity that happens, the overall participation, of course, it has increased little bit over the years. However, there is at the entry level to when they progress from the entry level to the leadership to the level, we can see that there is less than 30% of the women who are hired. They really advance to the leadership role when as you compare when you compare the figure to the male or the men who are getting Similarly, if you look at the key management positions, women hold only 14.08% of the key management positions, such as CEOs, CFOs, chief operating officers, etc. And there are two sectors primarily they are showing certain kind of growth, like financial services and technology. However, there are sectors like manufacturing, energy, infrastructure, etc. They're really lagging behind, and they're holding the leadership position they're holding is less than 10%. Okay, this is what the report says. So if that is why, if so, the reason I wanted to show you, the reason I wanted to share with you the particular statistics, not to just show you that there is how there is a deficit, there is a gap in the leadership positions at the higher level in the corporate. Also, it talks a lot about the kind of the pipeline myth which is there in our minds. Okay, pipeline myth is that no, we assume or it is being assumed that there are fewer women at the leadership position because there aren't enough qualified women. That's the reason they are not moving to the higher position. But it says the data says at the entry level there is not much disparity, disparity begins when the first promotion takes place, that when that we move from the entry level to the manager level. So it indicates that even there is a McKinsey report that says that for every 100 men promoted from entry level to the managers, only 87 women they receive the same promotion. So it is sort of debunking the entire pipeline myth that there are there is not enough women, qualified women or eligible women who are being there, who are there who can be promoted to the leadership position. This is just a myth. Okay, there are a lot of other systemic barriers which are being there, which are really preventing them to move, in the vertical, move upward in the organization. So what really explain the differences? Okay. Why this movement is not happening, and what are the kind of barriers which are being there? So is it a pipeline problem? No, it is not a pipeline problem, because we have enough women who are joining the workforce. And okay. So what are the reasons then? So there are, if there are so many reasons, there are no, we have understood. I think the previous speakers have already spoken about the kind of systemic barriers women go through. But I will talk more about from the corporate point of view, and I would like to point out a few findings which have emerged from the research, which are very, very important, and which all of us have at the end of the session, you will be able to relate all the findings and with your own progress in your own company. So one of the findings which has emerged from my research, that there is a concept, or there is something which we call the assumed incompetence versus assumed competence. Okay, that is what is the biggest barrier. Uh, so men are, there is a one of the biggest roadblock is assumed incompetence, meaning the idea that uh, women are assumed to be incompetent, whereas men are assumed to be competent for leadership positions. Okay. Women have to constantly prove their abilities. They have to repeatedly prove their abilities that they really deserve a position in the table. While men are assumed capable from the beginning. Okay. So that is a very interesting book which is written by a psychologist. His name is Virginia Valiant. Why so slow? The title of the book is Why So Slow? Here, she has tried to understand what are the kind of deep-rooted biases that really shape how we see the men and the women from competence point of view, which he says that this is called the gender schemas. There are certain gender schemas which are being there, which really affect how we perceive the competence level of the men and women. Now, these biases says that women are assumed competent until proven otherwise. However, the women are assumed incompetent until they prove otherwise. Okay. So this explains that why a successful woman is often credited with, if you are successful, she's very hardworking and luck has really worked for her. But if a man is being successful, oh, he is very competent and very serious and all those kind of stuff. So if a man fails, we say, oh, it's his bad luck. When a woman fails, it is her fault. So even the women also have this kind of hold this kind of biases. It's just not the men who are having this kind of biases about the women. Even the women hold these biases. For instance, just cite you one particular case study where one study was being done where a piece of that was a piece of write-up which was being shared with both the men and women, and both were being said that it is being written by a man. And how do you rate the write-up? Quality of the write-up, okay? And if both men and women, they rated the article as very highly rated, and it's it is an excellent write-up, and it's very well written, very thoughtful, and everything. The same group of participants they're being shared with another write-up, and they're being said this has been written by a female. Okay, how do you rate? Okay, but when they have to assess, they have assessed it at much lesser. Rating was much lesser in terms of the quality of the paper as compared to the rating which was given to the win. So there is kind of, this is what we in psychology, this is what is called the Goldberg paradigm. Goldberg paradigm is this kind of, it is called a Goldberg paradigm because it has been done by one Professor Goldberg. So the psychological experiment which he conducted. So that is how he tried to prove that the gender bias really affect the evaluation of competence. In 1968, he conducted this study, and then he has come out with this kind of. So even you just see it happens not only in terms of in the experiment, even we have seen that how it happens in case of job applications. The same CV is being shared, okay, and just change it is a CV of a male or it is a CV, it is the CV of a female candidate. Okay, but the content is same. Okay, the resume is same, but you just change the gender, and the gender when it is written is it is a CV of a male candidate. It is being rated as a better CV as compared to the CV which is being by a female. So it happens at every field. It happens in the workplace recognition. The way suppose you are a woman and you are giving certain kind of ideas in a meeting, you are being ignored. But the same ideas which are being given by a male colleague, it is very well accepted, and people start having a discourse on the ideas, and they start recognizing and appreciating the ideas. But when it comes from the woman, it is something completely being ignored. It happens during performance evaluation also. Okay, when we evaluate the performance of a person, if you more or less even the research also talks about it, and also all of us have experienced it, those who are working. When the women receive feedback mostly based on their personality. Okay? But when the men receive feedback, it is based on their performance. Okay. But then suppose personality meaning, oh, she is very likable, she is very approachable. Okay. She is very, very interesting, very warm, and all those kind of stuff. And when the men are being evaluated, oh, the person is taking more strategic roles, he is very competent, very forthcoming, all those kind of parameters. Okay. So that is how so this is Goldberg paradigm. It is very clearly visible in the corporate dynamics. Okay. Very clearly visible. So women, again, as I mentioned, that we have to, as the women, we have to prove it again and again that we really deserve a position, or we really deserve a promotion. We really deserve a kind of a chair in the a place in your boardroom. We have to prove it completely. Any mistake, small mistake made by a woman, it has been, people remember it for a long time. Okay, but any mistake made by a men, it is being quickly forgotten. Okay, men are being promoted based on potential. Women are being based on their continuous achievements. There is the Mary Barra, who was the CEO of General Motors, the first woman CEO of General Motors. She was the since 2014. She has been there. So despite she is an expert in engineering and business, but she has spoken, and there are a lot of she has spoken about it later, that how she was always being underestimated. Okay, how she has witnessed it, how the male executives in the company were being promoted faster, but at every point in her career, she has to really prove. Okay, so there are a lot of anecdotes we have, like for instance, take the case of Indira Nooyi, the former CEO of PepsiCo also. Despite her extensive strategic leadership, she had to repeatedly prove herself, in these male-dominated boardrooms. Her decisions were always being questioned by the male counterparts, but she is the one who consistently delivered the results, and that is how she just made it happen. Like PepsiCo grown, its revenue has grown from $35 billion to $63.5 billion when during her tenure as the CEO. Okay, she has really proved herself. So this is something which has come from my own research, which I conducted with a few academicians, the kind of what kind of senior academicians, what kind of challenges they have really faced, during their career. So also the academics is not only confined to the corporate world, this is something which is being experienced by the academicians also whenever, so that I constantly have to prove myself while others glide along. Lot of anecdotes which have been there, which has there is another interesting point which has emerged from my research also. As the women, usually we fall into the trap of likability. When we start our career, we are because we are being socially conditioned like this that no, we understand or we know that we are expected to lead with humility. We have to be somebody who has to be liked by everybody. We are into this likability trap. We want to be in the good books of everybody. We want to be liked by everybody. Okay, so uh, that is how the yeah. Yes, am I not audible? Okay. So, yeah.
मोबाइल दे दो.
So that is how, as the women, also we are being, we are, whenever, so that we fall into this likability trap, and we want in the beginning of our career, we want to be liked and to be appreciated by everybody. So that is how we, instead of focusing more on, for example, just related to what I've realized, I've understood from my research on the academicians, some of the young faculty, they have shared their experience why in the beginning phase of their career they cannot focus more on the research part, because research is something that becomes the basis of your promotion, but they could not publish so much because they said when we start our career, we want to be liked by our colleagues, we want to be liked by our students, we want to be known as a good teacher. So all our effort has gone into, preparing for the classes and to be to take some good sessions, to that is how you cannot focus more. So that is how the likability trap is something, and which that is called the sticky floor phenomenon in psychology. We get ourselves stuck into the floor, and it's very difficult to come out unless and until there is certain kind of pressure which has been there on us. Okay. So there is a kind of double bind we face in the leadership. Uh, on the one hand, we are expected to lead with warmth, with humility, etc. And that is why uh, then, this bias often keeps the women in the junior positions longer, and it becomes then when they have to move, we have to move ahead, then we have to then okay, so that is how the tightrope balancing competence and likability, that is something which is very very one of the strategy to how do you balance these two. On the one hand, we have to be likable, okay, we have to be warm, and we have to be communal. And because unless we are warm and communal, then we are going to be just. And at the same time, we have to be competent. Okay. So how do we balance being assertive without being labeled as aggressive, and also being warm without being seen as the weak? So if we are too direct or assertive, then we are penalized for it. If we show warmth, then people say that she's so, she's not a leadership material. Mhm. That is how we face a double bind. If you are too strong, oh, she's too bossy. Too soft, meaning you are not a leadership material. So men are not judged this way. Okay, if they show certain kind of assertiveness, they are seen as confident. If they show warmth, that meaning, oh, they are approachable. Okay, so this forces the woman to walk a tightrope, being between being competent and being likable, and something men don't have to do. Okay? And also, if you are showing a lot of warmth and you are little more emotional, then uh, also we are getting judged. For take the example, and women are in fact often shamed for showing emotions. Okay? Uh, Particularly in the male-dominated fields. Suppose a woman is emotional, then she is termed as hysterical, or she is penalized for it. If a man does the same, the person is called outspoken and though no repercussion. As you can see from this particular slide, this is the picture of Serena Williams, and the incident happened in the US Open fight in the US tournament. There is an open fight between Serena Williams with the umpire Carlos Ramos. And because she had an open fight and she challenged the umpire, Serena Williams was fined $17,000. Uh, okay, uh, out of 70 for because she called the umpire a liar or a thief in the open final loss. So that is how, if you try to argue, if you try to confront, then there is always certain kind of repercussion, consequences being attached to it. Okay, and you are being severely penalized for this kind of behavior. And if then there was a kind of reaction during it happened in 2018, and soon after this particular incident, when it all over came in the all the media and everywhere, there is certain kind of arguments which have been made that in the past there are so many tennis players who are the cricket players, many players they have argued with their umpires, but this kind of repercussions, this kind of penalty was not in. But because he has argued and it was a kind of open discussion that happened, that's the reason. Okay, she had to no, she had to go through this kind of penalty. And also, this is not something which is not, there is a lot of misogyny also you see in leadership, in politics also. So this is the example of the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, Ardern, Jacinda Ardern, who was often being described as very empathetic, and sometimes she was being framed as too soft, too emotional, etc. So as you can see here, Jacinda Ardern is facing one here decision instance where she's having an interaction with the media and with some journalists, and she's completely breaking into tears, and she is just emoting. And there is the right side of this particular side, you see there is a kind of tweet which is being come out, and the language which is being used against her, this is really crude and this is very vulgar. So a series of online hate comments also, which are you can see a series of online hate comments which are visible, that includes insulting, sexist, dehumanizing language. So there are criticisms of Arden. It was not just about her policies, but she was also being targeted for her appearance, the kind of personal life she has gone through, and the emotions she shows. Okay? So this pattern really discourages women from stepping into leadership roles because due to the fear of similar treatment, you never know how you're going to be judged by people. Okay? So this is not just about Jacinda, also Hillary Clinton, Julia Gillard, and from Australia. They have also faced a lot of gendered attacks and online harassment when they were having during their political careers. So when the male leaders are criticized, usually it is about the decisions they have taken, particularly the policies they have come out. However, the women, when they are being criticized, mostly they are being criticized not for their work, but for their appearances, the emotions, or the personal choices they make. There is also there is also there is a maternal wall also. There is maternal wall bias against the women. Maternal wall bias, uh, particularly mothers, as the mother, uh, the kind of bias they face regarding their commitment and competence. It also makes it very difficult for them to advance. So there are assumptions that if you become a mother, you are less committed. If you are having children, you are less likely to be committed to your work. You are less likely to be sincere to your work. Okay. If you are asking for work-life balance, then it becomes seen as a weakness. Okay. And if men prioritize family, they are being seen as responsible. But if women prioritize the family, oh, then she's somebody who is giving family becomes the priority, and perhaps is not the way we perceive and like for instance, Sudha Murthy, the chairperson of Infosys, she talks a lot about it. Earlier in her career, she was being told that as a woman you cannot work in an engineering company. Okay. Uh, and also she had to prove also that she can really then she was being challenged, criticized for the kind of family time she took up for the family responsibility, and she proved that how women can balance leadership and family, and she really took lot of CSR initiatives for her company when she was raising the family. So there is a good mother trope of, okay, good mother trope. It indicates that how the mothering should be undertaken. That it says that mothers should be the primary caregivers of the children, and this, as the mother, you need to devote all your time and love to the children. So uh, the well-being of your children should come first, okay? And you should exclusively undertake mothering. So this is a concept given by William, 2000. Now, suppose you are not giving that kind of mothering, intensive mothering is not something is not happening, and you're not taking it seriously. Again, uh, you are subject to the, criticism. So this motherhood penalty and is something also, okay. Now, that is how, because of all the challenges, because of all this kind of uh, the biases or this kind of assumptions we have in our mind, you will see that there are no, women find it. One of the reason is they are not, this moving ahead in the leadership roles. Uh, there are also some other reasons. For instance, there are certain kind of, if you see the way industry, or meaning if you the kind of roles women are being preferred in the corporates particularly, uh, key roles which are, if you look at what are the roles that lead to the CEOs, uh, particularly the employees who are into profit and loss roles, like chief operating officer, you are a division head or operation head, you are the sales head, etc. These are the roles. Usually they are being preferred to become the CEO of a company. Okay, these roles are very critical stepping stones to become the CEO. But most of these roles are being dominated by the men. And because there is also a reason why these kind of roles are being looked at, you need to have those kind of experiences to become the CEO. Uh, there are a lot of reasons for that, but we'll not get into this. But it is seen that these kind of the pain, profit and loss kind of roles are usually being dominated by the men, and they are likely. That is why they are likely to be in the CEO pipeline. But women are often steered towards roles which do not provide direct PNL kind of experience. That is one of another reason which really limits their path to the CEO. So they usually, hold the leadership roles. Then they hold the roles which usually do not lead to the CEO roles. Like for instance, they become the CHROs of the company. Okay, the human resource management. They head the HR. They head marketing. They head the administration. They head the legal departments. And these roles are critical to business, but usually do not typically carry the PNL kind of responsibility. So, since companies favor this kind of PNL experience for the CEO selection, women in these roles are usually overlooked for the top leadership position. And so this creates a kind of self-reinforcing cycle where, very few women reach the CEO level. And also, as you can see from this particular site, okay, the very few women, particularly if you see, look at this particular site, green lines which you see, uh, it indicates that more women are entering into C suits, but they are into very less influential roles. Okay. The green lines, it indicates the staff roles. So there is a steady growth from 2019 to 2024. That indicates that more women are entering into the C-suite, but in the staff roles. But the yellow line which you see, these are the all line and operating roles. It remains stagnant. Even you can see that over the years 2023, 24, it is declining. That shows that women are not progressing into the most powerful leadership roles. Okay. So what it means that women are gaining leadership position, but not in roles which with direct control over the business operation strategy and revenue, whereas they are being more concentrated in support roles like HR, legal, marketing, etc., which have less influence over the company direction. Okay. So because they are not into the strategic roles and they are not been deliberately assigned to the strategic roles because of the kind of barriers, the biases we have in mind, which we have already discussed. Okay, so that is why men still dominate these roles. And okay, so so these are a few barriers which have been there. Uh, then what are the strategies for working down the type? Okay, what kind of strategies can we use so that we can work uh, the tightrope? Okay. Uh, these are again based on some of the research findings and my own research. Also, briefly I will talk about it. There are so many things which are to be covered, but very briefly I will touch upon it. So one of the strategy is all of us seek power, but do not show that we seek power. Okay. So there is a very interesting piece of work published by Victoria Brescoll in 2013 that talks about the gendered double standards. Okay. Uh, what she says that men who seek power are seen as natural leaders. Women who seek power often seen as somebody who is very aggressive. She is too ambitious, too aggressive, and she is somebody who is unlikable. That is why that means that as the woman, we need to carefully navigate how we express our authority. Okay. And how we demonstrate the leadership without appearing overly dominant. So perception really matters, and that is why it's very, very important to develop this kind of understand very strategically, we have to move. Okay. Uh, so we have to move in a way that to unnecessarily to avoid any unnecessary backlashes. Not doesn't mean that we need to hide our ambition. Okay. It is just the way we are framing it. And we need to frame it in a way that really gain support instead of resistance from the other employees. So women don't have, then there is one example I can, so this is the picture, this is the of Ursula Bonds, who was the former CEO of Xerox. And she was the first Black woman to head a Fortune 500 company. But there was, after 7 years, 2016 something, there was some on the, there is certain kind of situation that happened in the company, and most the one of the fundamental reason was the challenge that came from one of the investor of the company who challenged her for something, and that is why she moved out, and that is a very interesting story behind it. She in fact has spoken about what kind of consequences you have to go through when, as a leader, woman leader, when you exercise or you try to exercise your own authority. For instance, she is very well known for her strong leadership, the confidence she shows, but she later revealed that she had to really carefully and balance how she expressed power. Okay? And she tried to ensure that she is not being perceived as somebody seeking power or somebody who is too assertive, etc. So Bond, she tried to build influence through expertise, strategic relationship, rather than overtly seeking power. So what it says that no, there are, we must demonstrate authority strategically using our influence, collaboration, and results. We have to show the results rather than directly showing certain kind of power-seeking behavior. Second, we don't have to uh, we don't have to choose between competence and likability. Okay? We have to learn how to bring the best blend of both competence and likability. The best leaders are those who balance authority with relativity. So we should not feel pressure to be less ambitious or to be liked or anything. Competence and likability are not two opposites. We can really embody both by leading with confidence, by leading with clarity and authenticity. So we can have both, but the way we again demonstrate it, that is very important. Okay. Uh, so again, how do you connect with people? How do you that likability? How do you increase? This is the picture of Rosti Nadar Malhotra, who is the daughter of the founder of this SL technology. She also has spoken about it, how she tried to, when she took over SCL, how she used a lot of storytelling to connect with people. But whatever she did, any decision she took, how she tried to back the decision with data, and how she tried to listen to everybody, actively listening to everybody, and how she was being very approachable at the same time. She never downplay her expertise. I think she was somebody who has studied in Kellogg and brought in a lot of experience before she took over. But this is how uh, she's spoken about it. So, how do you adopt a kind of balance? Paradox one, be demanding. You can demand work, but at the same time, you have to demonstrate care. Mhm. Demand high performance from team, but so what you care. Tough on task, but you have to be soft on people. Suppose we are angry for, and we have that anger has come out, but we need to somehow explain, what was the reason of your anger. be authoritarian, at the same time be participative. We need to assert our competence. At the same time, we need to admit our vulnerabilities and ask others to collaborate. Okay? We have to listen to others. We have to advocate for ourselves to serve others. Okay? We have to highlight our achievement. We express pride in the groups we belong to. We should express pride in the organization we work, and also maintain distance. Distance at the same time, you have to be approachable. Okay, it is uh, it is essential that we maintain certain level of distance to generate respect. Okay, however, at the same time, we have to be also seen as somebody who is warm, friendly, accessible, etc. Uh, Language we use also shapes our perception. It's a perception. Okay, there is a how language plays a role. Uh, in fact, uh, uh, we always use, there is a very interesting anecdote I'd like to quote from, I think I'll just take, there's a very interesting anecdote I would like to quote from uh, the professional journey of Indra Nooyi again. So when Indra joined, Motorola company, uh, she was, she was very known for her direct approach, her blunt approach in the decision making. She had a very sharp analytical mind, and she would often challenges the people. She used to often challenge the strategies with statements like, suppose you suggest something, then she would be very blunt. She would say, your strategy makes no sense, or there is no way that you can deliver the return you assumed. Okay? She was very, very direct, and this kind of direct, blunt statement really alienated her colleagues, and they created a sense of kind of resistance in the company rather than collaboration. Okay? Then that time, the CEO of Motorola was George Fisher, and he came forward and he mentored me, and he said that you have to change your communication style. Okay? Instead of outright dismissing ideas, uh, you can just simply outright dismiss the ideas which are being proposed by your employees. Rather, you should ask questions that encourage discussion uh, rather than shutting down people. Okay. Now, so before she was to critique ideas bluntly, then gradually she learned how to frame the concerns as the open-ended question. For instance, okay, so uh, for instance, so how you can use a very constructive tone. Now, for instance, suppose the a certain kind of, for instance, I need this to be done now. How you can reframe it, how you can be very inclusive and constructive. Okay. Uh, Given our goals, the best course of action is, okay, how you make the statements very, very open ended. This idea doesn't work. This is an interesting perspective, but however, based on the data, I suggest that you look for this kind of. Okay? Do this immediately. Rather, you say, given our timeline, let's prioritize this task. Okay, how do you reframe? You make it very constructive, very, very inclusive. This is how you can use a language that will build certain kind of positive perception about you as a leader. Okay? So, second strategy, which I would like to talk about, that we have to claim our power rather than waiting for recognition. Okay. Now, studies show that men often self-promote as compared to the women. And study shows that men apply for promotion when they meet only 60% of the qualifications. Okay. But women will not apply for a promotion unless they are 100% confirmed, sure that they're meeting all the requirements. I myself give you example that I was eligible to become a professor since 2009, but I didn't apply till 2013 despite my personal section repeatedly telling me, why don't you apply? You are already eligible. But I said, no, I'm not very sure because, I don't want to. And that is a reason I don't want to go to face the board, and in case the board rejects me. So I wanted to be more than 100% prepared and ready that no, I am now ready to take over. I'm very confident that I'll not face any kind of challenges. Okay? So, and also you have to understand that workplaces are not always meritocratic. Many promotions happen based on the visibility of a person, the sponsorship the person is getting, the networking of a person. It is just not the competence that matters. If you don't advocate for yourself, others with less experience will do it with greater confidence, they'll move it. So, and also leadership uh, uh, bias often favors those who claim authority. Okay? If you seek approval, you may be perceived as less competent. Men are more likely to negotiate for leadership roles, but women want to be invited. They wait to be invited to take up the roles. So here, the key takeaway from this particular research for recognition is not something which is given, it is something which is taken. And we must actively claim our expertise and leadership potential. Okay. If we don't speak up for our for promotion opportunities, we don't speak up, ask for projects, we'll never get it. Okay. So we have to make very strategic career moves rather than waiting for validation from others. Another very interesting research says that women don't ask. We don't negotiate. Okay. That is why just this is a book, Women Don't Ask, written in 2007. And this book, the authors say that women, unlike the men, don't try to negotiate for more money. That is why you see a lot of gender, that is pay gap which is being seen. Okay, for the same kind of position, if you see the kind of pay you receive, the CTC you get, there is a huge gap. And one of the reasons is that no, women just uh, don't ask for it. They don't try to negotiate with the companies that how much they really okay. And women, so we just lean in and demand higher salaries for that is the solution they're offering. Now, in fact, there are a lot of subsequent studies which are being conducted. Also, they say that talks about why women don't negotiate for higher salaries. Okay, and because asking for money in India, particularly, if you are asking for more money, it is something, and if you, it is not something which is being seen as a appropriate behavior for women. Neither is the assessment of one's, meaning women expect that if they ask for more money, better money, there will be social backlash, and you know, so they might lose the job. And also, research shows that indeed it has happened. Those women who have asked for more money, they have been punished. Okay? So they are not given increases when they try to negotiate. Okay. So there are also researches which are being which have proved that if you are asking for more money, you are being if you negotiate for more money, you are perceived as somebody who is aggressive, demanding. But if men negotiate for more money, they are being considered as very confident. Okay. So employers are less likely to grant raises to women if you ask for it. Later on, very recently, a few studies which have been published, which says that this finding has been reversed now. Women also ask for more money. In fact, they ask for more money as compared to the men. Still, there is a gap in the payment. Okay. So when there is the So what does it mean? That problem is not that the women don't negotiate. They do negotiate, okay, but still, if if they negotiate, then they're not being rewarded for it. And in fact, if you want, I can share those papers also. Very interesting results have come out, and now the researchers are saying that by saying that they don't get good money because they don't negotiate, you are trying to fix the woman than fixing the system. Okay. So you're just trying to shift the responsibility on the woman that because you are not negotiating, you are not getting good money. So we are just trying to fix the fix the woman that, okay, which is again shifting the responsibility. Okay. So then next strategy is how do you network? Okay. Particularly, what is your social capital? What is your network? Particularly, how good you are in your strategic network. Strategic network, which is something needed, which provides strategic opportunities for you for career advancement. How good you are in it. Okay. Now, there are two types of network, uh, bonding and bridging social capital. Women are good in bonding social capital, but poor in bridging social capital. Now, bridging social capital is something which is really needed for career advancement. And why social capital or your network is very important? It really saves the career success. This is a study being conducted, 2019 study published, that says that you need understand, networking is very, very essential. It really plays a very important role in the career success. And there are sociologists, particularly, they classify these professional connections or networking into two types: the strong ties, the weak ties. Then strong ties are the close personal relationship with people we interact with regularly, and we trust these people for important career decisions, etc. And the weak ties is something, these are very casual connections, and we don't interact with these people very frequently, but this is a connection which really expand our access to new opportunities. Okay? Like, for instance, LinkedIn connections, connection with the industry professionals we meet at the conferences, our former colleagues, classmates. So they all belong to the quick weeks. Now, the research says that for the job market knowledge and for the public knowledge or the job market knowledge, for the new opportunities, it is very, very essential to have a good weak ties. Okay? Particularly if the work research insight given by Granoveters, the book Strength of Weak Ties Theory 73, it talks about how weak ties are very, very effective in job searches as compared to the strong ties because they bridge different networks, and also they expose the people to the new information and new job leads. Okay, so so both, it helps to have the right amount of strong and weak ties for the career success. Now, the research says for the men, if there is 10% increase in network centrality, there is 29% unit increase in the job outcomes. But for the women, if there is 10% increase in the network centrality, there is 59% unit increase in the job outcomes, meaning women can really leverage on the network. For women, it helps to have weak networks with many male connections and strong ties with many critical female connections. Uh, why we don't network? There are again very interesting reasons. We don't network. We think networking is not something which really works. Rather, we focus more on our functional competence, technical competence, job knowledge, etc. We really don't think, women particularly don't think that they really helps. Okay. And also, uh, we think it is using people. If you are trying to do network, it is It feels very unauthentic. It looks like we are using people for our selfish reasons. Okay. Also, we think this is going to, which is going to pay off in the long term. So rather, we should focus more on the things which are very urgent right now. Okay. Also, we think relationships should form spontaneously. We should not go out of the way and extra miles to work on our networking. This is something which really doesn't work. Now you just see, this is a kind of, this is a very interesting uh, uh, the paper 2021 paper, sorry, 2018 paper, which has been published. Now, as you can see in the paper at the entry level, uh, this is all about how successful women are or male are, in the networking or their access to senior leadership. At the entry level, as you can see, there is only a 1% gap between the men and the women. I mean, that meaning men and the women at the entry level, they have almost equal access to senior leaders. Only 1% difference there. So only career mentorship is relatively balanced. Okay. At the middle level, the gap widens. It becomes 5%. It indicates that at the middle level, men have noticeably more substantive interaction with their senior leaders as compared to the women. There is just a 5% differential indicates men are getting more face time with their decision makers, positioning them better for promotions. Okay. And at this point, it really matters because more interaction with you have with your senior leaders, it indicates more sponsorship, it indicates more visibility, career growth opportunities, etc. And women are losing out on these key networking mentorship opportunities at this level. The gap is widest, largest, that is 8% when you are at a senior level, that is VP and vice president and above level, where men's access to top executives outpaces the women's by 8%. This is a very, very critical stage for career advancement. It's a very critical stage for the leadership position. Yet women have very least interaction with the key decision makers. That is how, at this point, they are less likely to receive high-stake projects. They're less likely to receive mentorship, sponsorship for top roles, etc. And this lack of access, it contributes to the leadership gap, and that is why it makes it very difficult for the women to reach the C-suite. Now, why do women have less access to? See, there are several reasons. In the interest of the time, I'll just. So, as you can see here, uh, it is very, very essential for the woman to be part of different, different networking groups. Particularly, the research says that you become part of a women-focused professional groups to to gain more mentorship, sponsorship, leadership, visibility, etc. So there are a lot of women-specific professional groups which are being there. For instance, so just one point I would like to highlight here: when we are talking about networking, networking is not just about socializing; it is also a career accelerator. Okay? Uh, Building strong and weak ties, it really helps the women to gain access to the leadership pipelines, and who actively network, they get better opportunities. Very, very, it is very, very clear. So there are many major women-only networks in India, like Seros is one, which is having 21 million members. And Seros is a social platform for career guidance, job opportunities, community support for the women. Women in technology is almost 1 lakh, uh, you know, members, and this is a network for the STEM professionals and the students to access career opportunities. Lip.club is another 500 members are there. Or is it only club for rising women leaders? This is exclusive for rising women leaders to build influential connections. Then Women in Investing is another network having 200 members right now. This community focusing on finance investment careers. So those who are interested, you can join. Lean in India having 5,578 members. This is an initiative which is inspired by Cyril Sandberg, uh, for empowering women to advance in leadership. Then we have the Women on Wealth, 5,500 members. They're a group dedicated to financial planning, investment strategies for women, etc. So these are major, these are the women-only networks in India, which you can. Just my final thought: the most successful women, they always create their own power. As a woman, we don't need to change who we are, but we need to understand the kind of biases, uh, workplace biases which are being there, and also we have to learn how to use different strategic tools to navigate those biases. We not necessarily we have to be perfect. Okay, we have to be 100% ready for a kind of role. Confidence in fact builds perfection. Even if you are not perfect, if you are confident, it's really helpful. You have to advocate for yourself. If you don't advocate for yourself, no one else will do for you. Success is not an individual sport. We have to build alliances, we have to build network. We have to claim our power because nobody is going to hand it over to us. We have to claim it. The future, ultimately, it belongs to women who understand the game and who learn the rules. Okay. So rather than so that is just final slide. This is a concept I'm very fond of, which I have coined to this just to I have coined this after my research. I have come out with this kind of concept that is called a quicksand. Quicksand I'm using as a metaphor for certain kind of professional and personal dilemmas we the women go through, the professional women we encounter. As a quicksand, leadership roles may seem very stable, just like the quicksand, appears solid, but it is very unstable. Similarly, some roles, some situation in our personal and professional life seem secure at the beginning, but quickly turn difficult. It can quickly become very challenging. There are workplace biases, uh, there are certain kind of uh, there are workplace biases and expectation which can really pull the women down if not being navigated strategically. Struggling alone can lead to burnout. So alliances, mentorship are really very, very important to stay afloat. The harder you fight against the systemic barriers without strategy, the more entrenched you become. So smart navigation, not just effort, is the way forward. So we have to understand the game well. We have to rewrite the rules and we have to rise the ladder. That is the uh, only way to. So, so this is all about uh, my, the stuff I wanted to share with you. I would be happy to take questions if.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the enlightening session. Your comprehensive analysis has provided us with valuable perspectives on this crucial subject and its significance for gender inclusive leadership. I would now like to invite Professor Vibhuti Patel ji, Indra ma'am, and Mohanty ma'am to share the reflections and remarks over the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Professor Indra, would you like to go first? Please unmute yourself.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Sasmita. It was very, very interesting, and you also gave practical examples. And also, you brought out the point very clearly that women are capable, but they themselves have to fight it out, and what to say, we ourselves have to advocate for our capabilities. So that's what I understand from, and also you pointed out of all the six unique strengths that are needed for leadership, women are lacking only one. But that is also one point that we have to understand. And also, what you suggested is that uh, it is important to have social capital, important to develop social capital and draw strength, and also uh, negotiate. See, I remember at several points of time, now I feel that I should have asked for more. I mean, not actually more, it is my legitimate right, but I never had the kind of, so most of us, all of us would have experienced at one point or other that maybe we should have, requested or asked for what is our, this one. So it is really very interesting. And he also gave some strategic points like, develop strong professional networks, and also uh, don't underestimate yourself. I think that's what I feel. All of us have the kind of feeling that whether I'm right or wrong. So you also clearly mentioned about it, the kind of biases that we ourselves have and how people expect from us. So in that sense, what you suggested is really, really, it gives, and also there are very young upcoming professionals. So our next generation is in front of us, and it gives a very good message to all of them. Thank you so much.
Thank
and I
you.
would interact much more after if there are any questions.
Sure.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Yeah. Professor Vibhuti, you are one generation ahead of mine and Professor Indira's generation. What has been your experience of women in public
Actually,
health, especially?
I must tell you, I thought today we are having budget discussion.
No, budget discussion is on 4th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Today is a course, our course. Is that,
okay. Now I have, one question for her. How does she define the leadership?
Yeah.
Secondly, I can draw the parallel with the rural women leaders that, they do, that there are misogyny. Male colleagues really, they hate the women leaders. And I accept your suggestion that there should be the social, the networking through social capital. Only then we can, fight the patriarchal attitude of the society. That's what I can tell for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vidit Mohanty. Now I have my questions. First of all, my observation first is that when women negotiate for higher salary or promotion, men always sexualize her. That has been my experience. I have sat on sexual harassment prevention committee since 1997. Okay, Vishakha Directive, and in so many cases, most of them were performing better, and the man who felt that they will miss the bus, they had ganged up, and such ingenious way of sexual harassment that they had found. And this is, I have sat on the sexual harassment committee of the National Commission for Women also, where the big well-known corporate house, where 16 men at a senior manager level, they targeted one woman, used all types of this thing for gaslighting, for making midnight calls, making dirty proposals, asking extremely intimate and objectionable questions. They tried all the psychological and emotional games to this thing, and our hearing went on for, like, it was more than 1,000 pages of complaints. And so I think it is also true that when we ask for this thing, when I joined as a director of PGSR, when I was elevated as a director of PGSR, and the way so many men ganged up and this thing, though I was unnerved, I remained polite. But then I saw that I asked, there were 84 teachers. All the applications for promotions were coming from men, and who were hardly doing it, because our Churchgate campus is near the stock exchange. They would just leave all the teaching and the hard work, to the contract labor, and they would just think about stock exchange. Well, the women who were really working, they were ridiculed as a babysitters, because if you do only teaching, you are a babysitter. If you are on 10 different committees of the university, you are powerful. And none of them had applied. Some of them had worked for 20, 25 years. They had PhD. And I called each one of them. I said, why haven't you applied for promotion? Don't you know you are now capable of being associate professor? Some of them were capable to become, they were eligible to apply for even professor's post. Means after 3 or 5 years, because it has to be like a seniority wise. But they had enough publications and enough record. But none of them had applied. They joined at one position and they would retire with one position. More so in the academic, among the staff, no? So it is only when Dr. Armaiti Desai, when she became UGC chairperson, she started this course called Women Managers in Higher Education. Pick up hardworking, sincere, and committed women in the higher education institutions, and give them intensive course of 6 weeks. And this was zone wise they had started. It lasted nearly for 10 years, the courses. After that, so many women, they built up confidence to challenge the patriarchal bias within the university, and they made united efforts. So I think network always helps. And so many in those 21 days, where these women were together, they also exchange each other's experiences and various techniques of reaching out to the higher authorities and improving them, showing what they had done for the institution. So I think that is also, so affirmative action becomes very important. The third question is that of that powerful women are also at times used by men. For example, the scam in SEBI, where that anonymous faceless Baba, he played havoc with SEBI, using the head of the institution, or even the ICICI case, of a massive scam. So that can be, because if you are atomized, because the moment you go up in the ladder, at the top of the pyramid, you are lonely, you are alone. It is only when there is a circle, you have a friends and this thing. So how to avoid that you are not used as a puppet in the hands of men? And the last one is that, what affirmative action do you suggest for the Indian corporate world, because they only talk about DIE, diversity and inclusion and empowerment, but actually nothing happens at the ground level. So how can we create pressure on them? No, should it be about quota? Because the way SEBI has come up with the quota, should we have a quota at every level of the corporate ladder, both for vertical and horizontal equity? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to ask one question, which I forgot when I spoke about it. I want to ask you, Professor Sasmita, how far the recruitment policies are biased? Did you come across biases in recruitment and conduct rules in some of the industries?
Yeah, I'll just recruitment policies I have seen, uh, in some many cases I have seen, many particularly from the private sector point of view, I can talk about it. So when they come, as I mentioned also in my PPT, that there are different roles which are being designated for either male or female. There are many companies which come to the campus, and they make it very clear that we need. It recently happened also. We need only male, or we need only the female for this kind of position. Make it very clear. Okay, so what kind of, nowadays, as you said, many companies, they have started this DI kind of initiatives where they have to bring in that kind of, no, suppose you have only 20% workforce, they have certain kind of targets. every year they have to reach the target, and one of the softer target is HR and legal and all those kind of stuff. Okay, and they make it very clear that we need only the, so it is very role specific nowadays. Okay, this is one. Secondly, also there is gender related. There is one case. Is it getting recorded? I believe. Okay, there's just without taking the name of the company, I'll just talk about it. There is one
You
particular
you
case.
anonymize your case.
Huh. So
Yeah.
there is one
It
particular
is
case
recorded.
where.
It's going to be in public domain. Yeah.
Oh, acha.
This video will be in public domain, so you can
Okay.
anonymize your case.
So the company came for the recruitment, and the company had an interaction with a girl, and that girl is a very bright student, and then the girl was in the late 20s, and the company representative is asking, you are already in this particular age group, so are you planning for getting married and all this kind of stuff? She said, yeah, I'm already engaged and I'm getting married, and maybe. So then how soon you are planning for a family? Okay. So then it was just the last round of, and this is the kind of jobs he was really looking for. And then she was being rejected. Okay, and she was being rejected, and it was being told that this is a consulting job, and where you need to have a direct interface with the clients, and she's going to get married and start the family. So we cannot send her for any kind of, either you have to delay your family decision, or you have to this kind of, and we will not able to take. So a lot of gender related, biases which are being there, of course, which are being there. Secondly, mostly women are being taken for roles like legal, or they have started very few you'll see in the departments like strategy, or finance, or those kind of roles. Marketing also, very few representatives are being there. Uh, Of course, a few organizations, not in India, I have not seen anyone, but outside, they have started using different softwares. Like one software is called DBias, meaning it will, they will just anonymously, they will do it like, screening is done by the software, so that no, it is assumed that uh, it will not make any kind of biases or any kind of, no, error will be done based on the. But again, later on, it was also being proved that the software is also being made by
Designed by-
people who are men, and it is already being oriented towards that. So it automatically picks up people who are more men, and as compared to the women, that is also another side to it. So companies are trying, but again, it will take many more years too. Yeah. Anything else?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. One thing, please.
May I ask one more question?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so these married women CEOs,
Yeah.
who are working, how do they negotiate in the family?
Yeah.
With I know about the rural women leaders, but
Yes.
this is much more taxing and challenging.
Yes.
So how are they coping with those, triple burdens of the family?
Yeah. So when you speak to these leaders, one thing which is very clearly coming out, that this is not a kind of isolated job. So if you are having a CEO kind of position or a top leadership position, one thing which is very, very essential, which is indispensable for you, is to have a very good family support system. Without that, it is impossible, absolutely impossible to carry on your responsibility. So look at any successful leaders, they have a strong support system. So support system from family and otherwise also. Otherwise, it is really. And also, when I was speaking to one lady who is already having a very senior person, and she said, I have never applied for any kind of, top leadership position, because I understand that my family is not supportive, my children are not supportive, and my husband is working somewhere, and he's not going to sacrifice his,
Exactly.
yeah, so he's not going to do it. So I know that I'm capable, I can really do it well, but I don't dare to, I don't venture into those kind of, because I know that I cannot do it without the support of the family. Secondly, these positions are very, very challenging position. It really needs 24/7 and 100% dedication from your side. So unless I am sure that I can do it and I can really spend that much of time in my, so I don't want to get into, and because organization is also my priority. I have worked in this organization, particularly this lady say, I work in this organization for 30 years now, and I will never get into a kind of position that will cause any kind of a detrimental impact it will have on the business impact it will have. So I'll never get into it. So there are also women who have realized it, and they don't get into this. In our TICs only, when I spoke to one professor, did you apply for this such and such kind of position? She said, no, I didn't apply because I don't want to go through the kind of stress I have seen the all your directors have gone through. I'm not ready to take it off. So all of us are having our own reasons, though all of us are having very competent people, but there are certain no, we try to limit ourselves and try to see ourselves whether we can be we can really withstand that kind of thing. So family,
That's,
Dr. Mahanti, as you have said correctly, you cannot have a job like this, unless you have the wholehearted support of your family. It's very, very
yeah,
important.
that is true. Now, I will, with the permission of the chair, I will ask a very difficult question. I mean, it is addressed to all of us in
Yes.
patriarchal society. Do you think we will, this is a 21st century, and we are dealing with deep sick, which is, very advanced level of AI. Do you think we'll go the Western way or some other way and shun the family and build your own career? I mean, this is just a wild thought. I don't know. In our generation, at least in my generation, we could not do. Maybe our grandchildren might think that way. So it's just a big question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a difficult question, I think. Uh, oh, yeah. So, are you talking more from ethics point of view or the?
No, see what they have done in Western countries. They live like partners.
Yeah.
That is one. Then they also don't have children,
Hmm.
so that they don't
Yes.
have to, yeah. And then if they want, they can leave, or they do the wife does his own work and husband does his own work, and nobody bothers, and they come together and eat something, but then sleep, then go
Hmm.
again. So this is
Hmm.
the kind of life they are leading.
Yeah.
But in the third world, our situation is different.
Yes.
Yeah, but still, the study of Claudia Goldwyn, who got the Nobel Prize for Economics in 2023, she says that now we are at this fourth stage where women are using contraceptive, they are not producing baby, they are giving as much time as men do at all levels of the corporate hierarchy. And they are also, you don't need brute force now to work because you
Oh,
have a technology which has taken over. Still, women are getting only 2/3 of wages and 2/3 of career advancement.
exactly.
This is the for which she got the prize, no? Her U-shaped curve phenomena. So we are at the stage 3 of U-shaped curve phenomena, where women, highly competent, professionally qualified women who have the same level of investment in career as men, still patriarchy is so powerful, and the old boys club is so powerful that it is preventing women from getting it. Same like women in Australia or New Zealand or Europe and America, they are fighting because if you get less wages, your pension is also less. So in your old age, you have a less security. So all these reasons are there. So even after performing as much as men do and not taking any kind of, say, if you are even don't face motherhood penalty or menstruation penalty or any kind of this thing, and you behave like men, then too, by virtue of being women, you are discriminated against at every level in the corporate life. Some queen bees like Indra, he would be there, but otherwise it's very, very difficult. That's what she studied annual reports of 200 companies. Claudia Golden, she did.
Yeah.
I think Akanksha Singh has raised. Yeah, Akanksha. Please unmute yourself, Akanksha. Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My question is, ma'am, you talked about assumed incompetence of women. I wanted to ask, what explains the assumed incompetence of women? Is it rooted in traditional division of labor within household, traditionally or attributed to women historically? And second question might be unrelated, but yet related, something which I have faced, maybe any of you could answer. So what I have faced is a discrimination at workplace, not from men, but women themselves in higher positions, something which is called queen bee syndrome. So how to deal with that? Have any of you faced that, and how to deal with that? Thank you.
Yeah, so when I spoke about assumed incompetence, this is something which I refer in the context of, how women have to prove their incompetence repeatedly. Okay, particularly suppose there is a female leader which has who has given certain come out with certain decisions, they are like more likely to be questioned. But as compared to that, the male leaders, their judgment, their decisions are taken at the face values. Okay, so assumed incompetence is something that questions the abilities, the leadership qualities, the expertise of the woman that requires them to prove themselves more than the male. Okay, it is being assumed that they're incompetent, and it's very traditionally, this bias is particularly evident in the workplaces, particularly. Of course, it has come from the patriarchy and the kind of the way, the traditional notion of, how we look at the woman. So they're assumed incompetence, and the men are assumed to be very, very competent. So the men are not required to go through that kind of notion that they have to prove all the time that they're capital, they're competent, and they have that kind of necessary expertise. So they don't have to go through that kind of challenge. So that in that context, I spoke about the assumed incompetence and the assumed incompetence. Okay. So this is one, and queen bee syndrome. Yes, this is what is something being experienced. Uh, sorry, before I move, I think assumed competence something also. It has also emerged from the social conditioning. Traditionally the way we have gone through the gender biases, and because women are always being seen as nurturers, not as the leaders. So it leads to a certain kind of skepticism that do they really have that kind of ability to handle authority? Or do they have the ability to handle technical expertise? Okay. So that is how in that context I have used. And Queen bee syndrome, it happens for so many reasons, so many reasons. Okay. So one of the fundamental reasons which, in fact, I have done a very extensive study on this, And one of the reasons which has emerged from the study is Queen Bee happens because when the women take over certain kind of positions, they themselves have gone through the entire process. They have gone through the entire challenges of, to reach out those kind of positions. Okay, so they have realized, so then once they reach that kind of position, perhaps they started behaving in a way that that some kind of they want to have certain kind of, you know, how do I explain? Uh, maybe one of the
Monopoly.
reason, yeah, sorry.
They want to have monopoly and exclusive say. I don't think they are ready to share
This
any
is
kind
one
of
reason. This is
accomplishment with any other woman. If they see anyone else, what I felt, maybe even slightly as competent than them, then it scares them. And but this is what I can say as an outsider. Ma'am, you would be better able to tell because you have done extensive research on this.
so. In fact, now some of the women in the leadership role, they try to downplay the gender discrimination to avoid being labeled as too feminist and emotional, etc. They try to downplay. This is one reason. So they don't want to be, to be very, they, they don't want to be very approachable by another woman, or sometimes they believe that if they highlight gender bias, uh, then it will weaken their autonomy. So that too, they can more align with their male colleagues. Okay? So this is one of the reasons. How do you align with your male colleagues when you try to distance the female colleagues? This is one of the reasons. Secondly, of course, the way we have the entire challenges they have gone through, there is also scarcity mentality. There is a scarcity mindset because there are only few leadership positions for women, and this is a kind of zero-sum game they try to also play, where women they also feel key. Because I have come through a lot of competition, they must also compete against each other, to come to this kind of position. So instead of lifting others or collaborating others, they also try to distance themselves to secure their own position. That is also, there are different ways to explain. This is one of the so this is, and also sometimes what happens that when they take over this kind of leadership position, uh, so when they break through the glass ceiling, uh, uh, sometimes they do it alone, and which make them more resentful towards other women than to be supportive. Okay? They may feel that if they had to struggle, others should also gone through the same struggle instead of making the things easier for the. So this is how what are the different psychological reasons which are being given why this kind of queen bee syndrome is being, why women are not supportive, particularly at the top level. They're not very supportive of other women. Why they do distance themselves from other women.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
With the permission of the chair again, I will take you to the rural area. In panchayats, there are ward members and women sarpanch. So they are discriminated at the societal level. The women, general women, they look down upon them. Oh, अभी वो politics को गई है, वो तो बन गई है लीडर, अभी हमको खातिर नहीं करेगी. But the sarpanch has to play a very tactical role. She comes together with the ward members and tries very hard to fulfill their basic needs, like drinking water, healthcare facilities, providing sanitary napkins to the young women. So, and then monitoring the ration and monitoring the midday meal. And sometimes they also spend their own money to provide them with the employment. So they win over their confidence. At that time, the rural women don't dare to discriminate against them or look down upon them. That's what the leader has to do, to win over them. That yes, she is working for our welfare of this ourselves, also for the panchayat. Thank you.
So I think in the final analysis, what Foucault says, your relationship to power. If you are
Yeah.
focused only on power, then you would go for the male model. And
Exactly.
because men are repository of power, you would also behave like them. And so many times we have seen in the court, especially in the family court, women judges are far more cruel in their judgment vis-a-vis women survivor of violence rather than some male judges. No, it is some on a compassionate ground. They would, like you can negotiate with them because these women judge wants to prove that I can be as harsh, no, as any other judge. So getting your space within the male world, you also try to behave like men, no? So that becomes your model. Yeah. So fascination for power. Yeah. Any other intervention, sharing? Yeah.
Hello.
Vijaya Lakshmi Panda.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much for this open discussion. I just wanted to know, we're talking about leadership, leaders. So how can I say she's a best leader or she's a good leader? Because we are working in a development organization. There are so many leaders, those are handling communication department, comment lightning department, then public relation and other departments, so then digital health. And we are biased on the basis of different skills that he's a good leader or he's a good leader. Then how can you define really he's a good leader, because nobody can perfect and nobody everybody has specific skills on their own set. So that's I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah, so when you're speaking about a good leader, it is very contextual, right? Particularly, for example, you are working in a community organization or social enterprises, or you are working in a corporate sector, or you are working in a government initiative. So, good leaders, there are certain kind of, it is very contextual. Again, I will not say ki, the way we understand would be so much different from each other. For instance, in your developmental sector point of view, it is good leader, whether what kind of style, is it participatory leadership? Suppose you are working with the communities, okay? How are you working? Are you working with the community and you are delivering something which is very, very locally relevant? How sensitive you are to the culture and how sensitive you are to the local tradition, language, customers, etc. Now, suppose there is a successful, there is a microfinance company and the leader person is from microfinance. No, what sort of community involvement, what sort of community participation the person is looking for, okay? So there are a lot of, another way to look at is, what is the ethical integrity and transparency is something which is one of the basic parameter for understanding the effective leaders or the who is a good leader. Okay? This is ethical integrity. Then, secondly, multi-stakeholder engagement is something which is very, very important from the development sector point of view. Empathy and your understanding of the deeper level grassroots issues. Okay. And inclusiveness is something which is very, very important. So I would say in the developmental sector point of view, if you look at who is a good leader, maybe you can say number one, what kind of vision you have. Okay. Secondly, the kind of understanding you have about the grassroots level issues. Resource management is something is very, very important. And what kind of empathy, or the level of empathy you have with the people. Okay, or do you have that kind of, what kind of approach you are taking Yeah, are you really willing to listen to the marginalized voices, or uh, are you able to ensure decisions which reflect the need of the people you are working for? Then multi-stakeholder engagement is something very important. So then I said integrity, transfer, and also community-centered approach. So these are some of the parameters you may think of when we speak about a good leader in the developmental sector point of view.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Great.
Surbhi ji, you can go ahead with the question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, ma'am, for a very enlightening session. I really like the concept, likability trap. I think a lot of women in their lives face that. And the second part of women don't ask, I think that is very relevant because we are always looking to please others and do not negotiate. My question is basically my area of research interest is also digital education. So in digital education, we see when women are in college, they are using a lot of online courses to upgrade themselves, especially women in STEM. But I recently researched or I did a paper on digital education, how senior managers are upgrading themselves through courses like offered by IIM. So I talked to 30 course mates of an IIM Ahmedabad program, which was a like a how do I say hybrid online program. They have an immersion program after 6 months. It was and the rest of the classes were online. So out of the class of 150, only there were 5% women, and in my sample also there were 30 people. So only two of them were women, and one of them had already left her service, so she was able to pursue this course. So that is what I want to ask, that how do you think it is, how important it is for women to upgrade themselves, because most men are upgrading themselves through these leadership programs or courses, but women, due to a lot of other responsibilities that they have, are maybe not focusing on those, or they are not going for enough training programs where even networks are built. Most people, when I asked why are they opting, they are of people, like mostly men were of positions like CFO, CTO. And when I asked them, why are you doing this program? So they said, we want an IIM tag, and we also want to, build our networks. But none of the women were aspiring for those roles. So can you elaborate if you would like to?
I could not understand the question. What exactly?
So the point is, why do you think women do not go for a lot of training or more leadership programs, and how important it is for their growth? Like to move into senior management levels, like CEO or director level jobs.
Yeah, leadership development program. I think many companies also have started their in-house, along with the kind of regular programs they do. They have started their what is called the micro learning programs. And micro learning programs, they are also floating very capsule-based, programs where at your leisure you can just enroll and you can finish those kind of programs. And they have made it also compulsory in many cases. And also some companies, they are sponsoring and encouraging their employees to go for some other digital programs or the online programs like Coursera and other kind of stuff. So they have subscribed to those kind of programs. They encourage their employees to go through. So it really helps to expand your knowledge base, but does it really help you to go to the leadership roles? I have my own reservation about it. Okay, it definitely helps you to expand your knowledge base. There are some online programs which are really good, and but how much it really helps you to progress, I'm not very sure. I'm not very sure how much it has been helping them.
So
But we
Yeah.
see that now mid-career level people, they are joining this courses throughout India. So because now we have 1100 universities, and the Ministry of Education has also told them to start various certificate courses, short-term courses, faculty development program, and this thing, diplomas. And we are seeing massive participation, especially mid-career people, because they don't have to hunt for a job. They are very much there in the position. Only thing, it gives them better handle about report writing or communication or dissertation. So personal skills are increased, which may in course of time help them to get to climb the career ladder.
In fact, if there is a kind of in-house kind of arrangement done, that you have to, some companies say that this many hours of, this many man hours you have to finish, for completing, these are the training hours you have to finish. And this is something mandate for you and it is being linked to your performance appraisal and other stuff. So then they are bound to do it. It helps in that way. So maybe in the long run, it helps, I have no idea, but uh, this is how many organizations they look for. These are the some 30 hours or 20 hours you have to spend or 60 hours you have to spend on learning some new skills through these online programs, and this is a mandate for you. You have to do it. And once they finish, then they have to submit this certificate to the departments, to the learning and development departments, training departments, and they it is being linked to their performance appraisal, and it is linked to their some incentives are given. Some organizations give one increment and all this kind of stuff. But yeah.
So any other questions from the participants?
A response is there from Madam Nihalika Yadav. Would you like to go? Nihalika ji, would you like to speak? You have written your opinion in the chat box. Nihalika Yadav ji, would you like to unmute and speak? Priya ji, you can read it out.
Yes, ma'am. I'll just read it.
Ma'am, the issue is with her mic. Yeah, she has written that there is an issue with her mic. So you can read it aloud.
So women at the top need to understand that individualistic notion of success and development is short-sighted, and that welfare of all only can ensure that benefits are shared by all. That is the reason we criticize men in authority that their policies are not inclusive. However, this does not create an extra pressure on women to do even better. Not to say that only women need are responsible for it, but this issue of internalized patriarchy needs to be addressed. So any other questions from the participants? Okay. So we would now like to end this session, and thank you, ma'am, for taking the time to answer all the questions in such great detail and with so much patience. We hope to have you again at IMPRI's future programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Palo. Brilliant
Thank you. Thank you very
presentation.
much.
Very insightful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right.
So moving on to the next segment for today.
So can I leave now?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
If any participant has any doubts regarding their projects, they can share them with the experts.
Yeah, topics have been, I think, finalized. Yeah,
Yes.
now it is
I
only.
think I can leave now.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So now we meet on at 3 p.m. on 4th for the discussion on budget, panel discussion on
Okay,
budget.
thank you.
You'll get the link. Yes. Who would go first?
Rush.
Yes, Rashmi ji.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening,
Good
all of
evening.
you. Ma'am, I have a question that there was a research writing, I think,
Huh?
segment which have not been conducted yet. When will that be conducted by Dr.
It
Simi,
is
ma'am?
there in the timetable, no? Timetable, let me check. It's there. Timetable. It's there in the timetable. But currently you must be doing data collection, no?
Yes, I am reading the literature on education, so I just wanted to write more about it. So I'm not good with the research part, na?
Yeah, yeah. But you can also discuss with us, and research writing is by Singapore.
Dr. Simi, ma'am.
Yeah, Simi Mehta. And other one is, research writing. Acha, she has, hers was earlier, no? Simi Mehta's was on
Yes,
day
ma'am.
3. So I think
Yes,
now we
it was
can
not
place it.
conducted.
essay and research article writing. So we will request her that in the next session, after next one or day 6, we have already 2 people, Nivedita Haran and Purnima Chauhan. Okay. After that, Samapti Guha Manimektai. Oh my God. I think on day 8 we can take February 23 after Professor Alka Parikh's this thing, or you can have an extra session. Otherwise, you can discuss with the guide and how to go about, like, you meanwhile you
Ma'am, on the WhatsApp,
finish.
can I call them? Can I call them
Yes,
personally?
yeah. What is the topic?
Ma'am, mental health of the teachers in India.
Yeah. That you would be speaking with whom? Dr. Amar Jisani?
I'm not sure who I have to call. Actually,
Yeah,
two
you.
numbers are given in the email.
Who all are they?
I'm not remembered it well, ma'am.
I'm writing it here. You can speak with your. Yeah. Okay, we'll do that.
Ma'am, I have a query.
Yeah.
I've missed the first 3 classes, so I don't know anything with respect to the projects. Who can I contact to understand better?
You have received the booklet?
No, I just received the last class video that I attended. Nothing more. No,
But even the PDF file with the readings as well as the, what is it called, course?
Course outline and reading resources, ma'am.
No,
You
ma'am,
got
I've
it,
not
no?
received.
You have
Quiniji,
not
you
got?
might have gotten it in your email.
I've checked it.
Did you get the?
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll check from our end.
Yeah.
And we'll reshare. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And videos are videos of all previous 5 lectures you
Oh,
got?
no, I haven't received.
So that can be done. So Priyanka ji is here. Priyanka ji, to just, if you can write your email. I mean, she must be knowing, no, your email
Yes,
ID.
ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it.
So, yeah. So previous 5 videos as well as the course outline and this. And then after that, if you have any problem, then you can contact personally. What is the topic on which you are going to work?
Ma'am, I want to write upon sexualization and character assassination of women in politics. So I am still to do a little more research in terms of what exactly do I want to pinpoint. But I want to talk about how women are objectified in terms of their physical appearances, in terms of their choice of clothing, and not they are judged in terms of a lot of their external choices and not primarily on the basis of the ideas or on the basis of the groundwork they are doing. So they are judged on a lot of superficial characteristics and stereotypical notions of how women should behave when they are in a public domain. So that's my interest.
And what will be your sources of data? How are you going to source your data?
I'm still to think about it. And
from social media and print media?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
If
Are you going to have a first-hand interview also, like primary?
I have not. I think I need to first, like, probably do some study, and then probably have some interviews also. So I have not.
Professor Indira, yeah. Professor
If you
Indira,
could
would you like
guide
to
me,
respond?
yeah, if you could guide me a little bit, like how to go about it, then probably I'll be able to collect my thoughts better.
Yeah. First, you start reading on this issue, both in social media, on Instagram, and print media, about the character assassination. There is a lot about Mahura Mitra and Priyanka Gandhi and so many things now, which have been reported both in print media and social media. And you can start collecting the images as well as the comments, no, of different politicians, of the bloggers and lay people, and then put it in the framework of stigma studies. Okay, so we start reading about stigma also. Yeah, because so many celebrities, they are stigmatized. The stigma studies is a special discipline within sociology. The theoretical framework you can use. Professor Indra can also advise. Yeah.
Maybe she can also classify them into, she can focus on a particular group. So because time is less, one way
Yeah.
is to look at cross-sectional, and another way is to look at a specific group. That is also
Specific
possible.
So
group.
you mean that those who are in the national politics, then
Yes.
regional politics,
If-
and in yeah, okay.
like that, she can what is a strategy? Stratification. Then decide.
Yeah.
First you read, first you get to know where data are available, where. So depending on that, you can
Lot is
decide.
lot is available on Twitter and Instagram, and
Data
so
are
much
available.
vilification is
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, lot is
Yeah.
and even the videos, YouTube also, no, there's so many murky
yeah.
things about the public women in public life. Yeah.
All right. So, ma'am, at the first stage, are we supposed to submit the abstract, or like what are we supposed to submit
Yeah,
as a
because you abstract, because you're going to contribute to a chapter for the anthology. So send an abstract, and in which you can suggest, first of all, what the choice of topic, how you're going to go about it, what kind of literature you're going to sow, with existing documentation, existing knowledge about the subject, your method of inquiry, discussion, and yeah, and the recommendation to the state and non-state actors. Yeah. What kind of curves we can have about this kind of character assassination, what measures can be taken, and how do we change the mindset of people.
All right. Thank you.
Akansha ji, you can go ahead with the query.
Ma'am, I have not yet selected my topic. I joined late, and then I took permission that I will be selecting the topic and going with my research a bit late. So they said that the timings are flexible. Ma'am, so I want to go for this thematic area, international frameworks for women rights in governance and employment. So related to that, I want to research on the sexual harassment of women in workplace and the international frameworks related to that, such as CEDAW and Beijing Convention. And in that, I want to make a comparative analysis of how these frameworks have been adopted in Western countries, mostly the global North, and India versus India, and how they are doing much better comparatively as compared to us. A comparative analysis, and I just want your views on that. Am I right in what I'm thinking? And the data I want to collect from NCRB and UN Women and other international global women organizations.
Yeah, and you can also do some case studies, no, of very important case studies, whether you may take Infosys or look at PMG or so. There are several landmark cases, and there have also been class suits, no, where women come together and collectively challenge the misogynist policy of the corporate, as it happened in case of Google, or it happened with Infosys America, and where so many women came together. It also happened with the BBC, this thing, right, from the kind of misogynist culture and what happens to the young woman journalist who joins the company. So because your unit of analysis is a global, you will get many important cases from Australia, this India also, because we have a famous Sasmita Sen case of, she got compensation for that.
Ma'am, I
So
also wanted, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I wanted to suggest.
and also, yeah.
Ma'am,
Yes.
Ma'am, I just wanted a small suggestion. Like, I'm currently building my profile to apply to Columbia School of Social Work, and I want to specialize in women rights. So my essay there, and with that perspective, I just come across this fellowship, and I was like, wow, this is so in my essay, I'm gonna mention that I will be researching on what is on
Safety at workplace safety.
Gendered sexual harassment. This will be my research area. And so, ma'am, I want to...
if you don't want to put it negatively.
So, ma'am, will this
want to put it as
research
you can also focus on policy thing. What kind of policies are available?
You can put it positive policy. A comparative analysis of workplace safety. A gender analysis, a gender analysis. That will be more acceptable to Columbia University rather than they would, otherwise they would just say,
Ma'am, can you please speak again? I missed your point.
A workplace safety, a comparative analysis, or a you can say cross-country analysis, you can say, where you will take more than one country.
Workplace safety.
Workplace safety. Instead of... I wanted to do like India versus, because I come from this country, so I want to make this analysis India versus America or the whole global north, how they are faring. Will this be better, or it will be like whole global south and global north? Which will be better?
You can use an academic language, or if you want admission in Columbia University, but a cross-country analysis, or comparative analysis of different, and then put colon, a gender lens, no? Or a gender analysis.
In title, you can call it as cross-country, and then you can select which countries you want to compare.
That will give you more flexibility, because as you start researching, you will know how many material you get.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
And then after colon, you put a gender lens. Then it will automatically take care of sexual harassment at workplace also. And it also happens with the gender minorities, no? They are also harassed. LGBTQIA community also gets harassed. Now it will happen more so after the first speech of the President of America, no? Where he has clear-cut targeted gender minorities. Because when there is a political blessing and political ecosystem also allows this to happen, the incidences will increase. No?
Ma'am, I will be mentioning in my essay that my research area in future will be intersectional gendered sexual violence. Ma'am, so does this topic aligns well with what I will be researching in future? Or I should research, does this align?
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
So you just send your abstract and just start doing the...
once you have something, it is easy for us to comment. But this is a broader thing, what ma'am suggested. Workplace safety, and then you can look at what kind of policies are available for...
Ma'am, I will be focusing on POSH, because I think that is a major law in workplace safety versus what is available in USA. And the data will be from NCRB, UN Women, and other global organizations, Equality Now, or the research organizations like ICRW, International Center for Research on Women. These have extensive data. Ma'am, how else can I, do I need interviews also? Because I'm doing a macro research,
see, you have a deadline. So currently, just start literature scan and start writing review of literature, and give your critical reflection on the existing this thing, and then you see whether on such a sensitive topic the survivors are ready to speak with you. That is also there. No? This is
frame your objectives based on the literature that you study. First, frame your objectives, then accordingly your methodology follows.
And plus also viability, no? Whether the victims of sexual harassment are ready to speak with you. No? That also is there. It is easier for us who are in the women's group and who provide support to women, do hand holding. Then too, we never ask, unless they themselves come out in open and discuss it in media. Then only we speak with them. Otherwise, those who don't want to come out, and share their painful experience, and we respect it. Even in the women's groups where we provide the support. Like we are running one-stop crisis center in 13 hospitals. They tell their cases in the, but mainly it is for the support and to rebuild their life. We don't use that data in terms of case. We just anonymize everything and give the research findings to the Commissioner of Mumbai so that better support system can be created.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, and one more request, like we was told that this class about research writing, it will either be taken in future or they will provide a video. So can it be done sooner so that we can better formulate our research?
Yeah, about research writing. Yeah, we will communicate that to Dr. Simi Mehta that she must. Otherwise, we should have one extra class also, or because next two sessions they are by extremely busy resource persons who are IAS officers and whose time to get their slot itself is very difficult. So both the sessions have two speakers. So then it will stretch up to 7 o'clock. So 4 hours you'll have to sit. So we can even ask for an extra session by Dr. Simi Mehta. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, can I say something?
So yeah.
I have a query. So my topic or the topic that I've selected comes from my personal experience. So I was a student at JNU, Delhi, and I was also preparing for civil services. I have interned with Self-Employed Women's Association Seva. So I come from a background in terms of my academic choice and in terms of my intern experience. I was also interning with Mr. Vinod Khanna for a project called Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So, but when I was interning or when I was preparing for civil services, there was a big discriminatory judgment that I particularly faced from my peers, not necessarily from my seniors, was the fact that I would always be judged upon my choice of clothing and choice of dressing. So people would usually say like you should have been doing MBA because you're more that material. Like that is the kind of judgment, stereotypical judgment I would receive. I was at the receiving end that you're not meant for civil services or politics because you're more at the fashionable end. And even when I was selected at Vision India Foundation and all these positions that I got, it was actually because of my credentials, because none of these organizations take you just on the basis of any superficial quality that you might poise for. But I even like there was a massive opinion of a lot of people, including my dad, that they are selecting you because of your face. So that is the kind of judgment I have faced ever since. As long as I was not into academics and as long as I was not into this domain, it was I was accepted well by everyone, like because when you enter into, because if suppose you are fashionable and you're into domain such as a makeup artist, or you are into domain of not being into academics or into the intelligentsia, you are accepted well. But the problem started coming when I started choosing these different domains, which were not necessarily the first choice of women from the cultural and social background that I come from. So my choice of topic was particularly that, because I have like over the years faced this discrimination, and I still often face the discrimination when I take my classes. I'm an educator, I teach civil service aspirants, and I'm also a mindfulness trainer, meditation trainer. So when I'm teaching UPSC civil service aspirants and when I'm teaching people who want to learn about spirituality, the one criticism that I face is again my choice of clothing, because I dress modern, I dress fancy. So that is something which I want to point out through my research, that that freedom of choice of clothing should also come as a as a part of the large domain of freedom that we talk about. And so anything that you can probably help me with in streamlining my thoughts?
Yeah. No, I think this is very valid objection that you have, the way people have tried to see. Basically, they are unnerved by your confidence, no? So had they would have also used racist slur that you are a dark complexion, or they would have said you are too ugly, or they would have said you are too aggressive. And the same way they are saying that your dress is a problem. We have all gone through this in our college days. But we just एक कान से सुन के दूसरे कान से निकाल दिया. Because those days there was no such platform, also democratic platform where you discuss this. We were just allowed to do PG and PhD. That itself we felt so grateful. My generation felt so grateful that we did not. Very true, no? That
Yeah,
So
we all
that
faced.
is- We all
Even
faced.
now,
Because,
still we are facing. Sometimes.
why you are wearing salwar kameez and not a sari, no? So that would come. Or at that time we were wearing denim and t-shirt. So that was a new thing in the 70s, no? So we were constantly, they would comment, and I was at least cycling in Baroda. I was in small town and but I think we need to protest against that also. And you can also say that this is what has motivated what you have undergone. That has motivated you to study this thing, that why any woman who tries to break the barrier, who enters the public life, one who has a guts to face the larger community, gets gaslighted like this. No, what is character assassination after all? It is a one form of gaslighting, attacking your sense of self-esteem and self-confidence, your dignity, and your bodily integrity. No, because if somebody constantly uses the microscope and X-ray to check your body, that itself is a extremely objectionable. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
See, patriarchy will be there. It is there. Even now, there is a lot of patriarchy. Everywhere we see it. Yeah.
Now it is more so because it's the boyfriend who decides what she wears and which color she wears, with whom she does. And she has to verify by sending the photograph to the male members of how is she going to be in the party and all. So even surveillance is more among the young girls. The pressure is more because we are in a selfie age, no? We are in a more visual age. So there too patriarchy permeates and tries to control your choices. Yeah.
Any other queries from the participants?
Actually, 2 more students have to submit, Karthika and Shruti.
Yeah.
They're attending?
And they're not in the meeting currently. No, ma'am, they're not present. We'll just inform them or text them to submit their checks. So since there are no other queries, we will end this session. And I would like to invite Vibhuti ma'am and Indra ma'am to deliver their closing remarks on today's session.
Indra ma'am, you can start. Yeah.
And it's a very interesting session, and she also explained how women leaders. Actually, recently I was reading one report on this is a recruiting firm. It is called recruiting firm is called. It is called Shortlist. Shortlist is the firm, and they came out with a report, and what it says is that many women when they see when they see that they have to go to rural areas or they have to have field work, they don't even apply for the jobs. So that is the kind of or at that stage itself they will withdraw from their application. So still some of these things are there, and during my lecture also I will mention about much more about these things. But today it is a very, very interesting session, and all of us know that there are some explained reasons and unexplained reasons, and in unexplained reasons I call them as unwritten laws. Apparently it looks like everything is fair, but when it comes to recruitment, all these unwritten laws will be working. And as she said, it is the women who have to realize that they are capable of doing, and they should not hesitate to advocate for themselves. That is the only way, I think, for asserting our own situations. And this Goldberg paradigm also, she mentioned about it. So we assume that we are incompetent, and that is a kind, and particularly for people like me who come from a very small place and studied in a local education in local language. So for several years, I used to feel that I'm not competent enough. So I'm sure that many women also feel that way. So we have to overcome that. So it's a very, very interesting session, and also some of the participants also got their doubts clarified. And I think others, anyway, I'm talking to them one-to-one. Some of these, students, they're talking to me over phone, and I'm clarifying. Our emails also, we are uh, giving them some inputs. So I think I also have gained a lot of knowledge about the women managers in this session. And thanks, IMPRI, for giving me this opportunity. And this virtual meeting is making possible for me to meet all of you and interact with all of you. Thanks, Vibhuti. Thanks, IMPRI, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. I think I also today, I found it very, very enriching session because this is the most neglected issue. There are so many important studies which are showing that women in Fortune 500 companies and women in public sector enterprises also face the sticky floor phenomena, as Professor Sasmita Palo told us. So in the 21st century, women in leadership roles in the world of work, both in public and private sector of the economy, it remains a very critical issue, but it is often neglected. She gives so many examples of leadership roles in the education sector or in the MSME sectors, and also in the various corporate houses, where so despite significant progress that we have made in terms of competent women aspiring to be in the world of work and getting egalitarian treatment, or as I think Professor Golden said, that women are not getting a level playing field, and they continue to face barriers, biases, disabling environment, and also very limited access to leadership positions. And the largest weapon, even the World Bank has accepted, the most devastating occupational hazard of the 21st century has been sexual harassment at workplace. It is the backlash of violence, the men who feel that they will miss the bus if women take over, no? So that kind of a hostility is now coming out all over the world, because women are entering all fields of life, and wherever they are entering, they are demanding equal opportunity, equal treatment, equal reward for their work in terms of perks as well as payment, and they are also demanding justice. So this is building a supportive ecosystem that encourages women to embark leadership roles and nurture their talents, and also continuously, this is 21st century, is a knowledge economy where you have to continuously upgrade your knowledge. Things are changing so fast. So lifelong learning, which men are doing it very, very carefully. I know even in the previous generation, my generation also, men would attend 6 to 8 courses for diploma. When the computers were entering Indian research field, they would attend after working for 9 to 5. I remember my husband and so many of his friends, they would attend courses from 6 to 8, come home around 10 o'clock. And they saw to it that they don't become redundant, they don't become dinosaur in the world of work. So I think the same kind of enabling environment we need to provide. And by examining the challenges, aspirations, and success factors for women leaders, which I think Dr. Professor Sasmita Palo gave us with so many evidences, and her study also. So we can develop, all the organizations can develop evidence-based strategies to promote equal opportunities and create an environment which is conducive to women's leadership, and not only women's leadership, but also leadership of the gender minorities. They also face so much of backlash and unfriendly environment in the corporate world. We have come across so many cases of suicides of MBA who don't fit into gender binary, So we need to drive the systemic change and empower women and gender minorities to lead in all spheres of life as very responsible citizens who communicate, who contribute productively and also along with their self-actualization through their work. No? So it is very important. Yeah.
One more example I can tell, like, how men are more, they want to catch up and another. See, for example, many who retire from higher education institutions, especially state universities, men immediately they will become vice chancellor of some private university or government university, wherever.
Consultant for the
consultant, or they become vice chancellors. Many of my colleagues, my age group, those who retired with me, they're all vice chancellors, but not many women. So that is a kind of,
No, and even if the position is given to the senior most professor woman, they would be additional dean. That is the kind of position you would additional. So you have a one man who will be the dean, and you have to be additional me. So you are equally competent. You would be doing all the work, and he will be representing the organization. Visibility, recognition, accolades will be given to him, while you would be the silent back-end worker. No, so that.
See, I was director of Women's Studies Center. You know about it. So I faced it several times. First heading the Women's Studies Center, Women's Studies Director. So ascertaining ourselves and proving ourselves is one thing. And as you said, even as a dean or as a be vice chairman or any, there our words are not really heard in meetings.
But still, the draft is prepared by you. Only thing from draft to final thing, they just put white ink, and now at least they delete draft and it becomes their document. No, so that is also a lot of intellectual theft is also taken.
Yes, exactly,
because when you don't have power, that's
you would
what
have
happens.
written everything, but you are nowhere. That is a kind of
Correct.
I faced several such kind of things as director of women's studies.
Correct. Correct. It is the lowest in the academic hierarchy, no? In terms of power. In terms of power, not in terms of talent, but in terms of power.
Thank you, ma'am, and I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Vibhuti ma'am and Indra ma'am for their closing remarks, which offered profound reflections on today's discussion and underscored the significance of fostering young women leaders in public and private enterprises. So this concludes the day 5 of Young Women Leaders in Public Policy Fellowship Cohort 2.0. And as we come to the end of day 5 of Young Women Leaders in Public Policy Fellowship Cohort 2.0, an online national winter school program, a 4-month online immersive introductory leadership certificate training fellowship program, Iria Rawat, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, would like to propose the formal vote of thanks on behalf of IMPRI, Gender Impact Study Center, New Delhi. Sincerely thank our experts for day 5, Professor Sasmita Palo, Professor Vibhuti Patel ji, Professor M. Indra, and Professor Bidyut Mohanty ji for graciously sharing their valuable time and providing participants with profound insights and knowledge during this online certificate program. And we thank all our participants who have raised pertinent questions and actively participated in today's deliberation. Reading for the session will be shared in your email, and a video of the session will also be shared with you for the learning. Eagerly await your presence in the upcoming session scheduled every Sunday and for the special session on March 8th, International Women's Day. We are grateful if you are watching us later on YouTube, listening to us on various podcasts, or reading our publications. We hope you continue to join in IMPRI's future web policy talk and web policy learning programs. Wishing you a very good evening. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Riya Rawat, for moderating the session. And please communicate to Dr. Singhi Mehta that there is a demand. And that session can be voluntary. Don't make it compulsory. If it is an extra session, then So those who feel that they need a hand-holding for a research article, they can join.
Certainly. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.